Hey, everybody, welcome to the Lions Guide Collective. I'm Dale Walls. I'm the founder of Lions Guide. I'm here with my co founders, Jay Tiggs, our performance development director, and Flip Griffin, who is our leadership development director. And we are here to empower everyday people like you to be world class leaders. Why? Because that's going to make you successful in all your ventures in life, whether that's business or being that dad you want to be, that mother you want to be, that community leader you want to be. Everything's going to be rooted in your leadership. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're passionate about. If you want to hear more about that, actually go back to our last episode, which we talked all about, the Lions Guide passion and mission of empowering everyday people to be world-class leaders. Go check that out. Hear what we're all about. If you're new here, if you're not new here, welcome back and glad to have you here with us today. And gents, what is good? We're not starting with Jay. Jay, for everyone's satisfaction, we're starting over this morning because Jay's a mess. Someone we're calling the Army back.
Take me back.
Too late.
I can't thrive in the civilian world. I'm already
sure. Less than a week, and he's already losing it.
Oh my God! It's Jay.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. How are we doing, fellas? Flip, what's good? What's going on? What's good in your world?
Just kind of getting the grind on. I think for me, it's about just establishing battle rhythms and controlling them. And so doing this, getting this battle rhythm down and the everyday leadership side and the everyday leader course going and getting kind of off the ground and not even off the ground, but just watching the traction happen is fun. And starting the Masters this week. So I'm excited to start that with Jay and UARD and doing the NATO course coming up here, which is fun. So a lot of big things, but all good stuff.
All good stuff indeed. Good. Jay, how about you?
I've got a new leadership challenge.
Oh.
My daughters turned 15. I've got triple daughters. They turned 15, so we got to teach them how to drive. So that's going to be interesting. So that's good. Headed to New Zealand to kick off this next cohort, and excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's exciting. I mean, we've got a lot going on. I guess before we jump into today. So today, we're following on. We talked the last collective about our mission. Today, we're going to dive into the core values. And we're going to start with core value 1, establishing clarity. But before we get into that, some announcements. If you guys are in our mastery groups, we run those Tuesday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. And if you're out there in Mountain Pacific, do the math. We're all big boys and girls here. We can figure that out. But if you're interested in partaking or coming to check out one of those, hop at lionsguide.com and hit the contact form to apply to that. And we'll see if it's a good fit and get you a guest pass to come in and check that out. Another big announcement. Actually, I'll save that one for last. So another big announcement. So UARD, if you are a veteran and you're interested or in the first responder community, we are partnered with UARD. We've got 6 cohorts this year. It's a VA accredited program where you can get your bachelor's or master's in emergency management and risk response. Jay, I always screw that up. Is it
emergency management and emergency response and risk management?
Emergency response and risk management. I can remember that. I always screw it up, but
hey, let me give you let me help some clarity too. It's not just if you're in the first responder community. There's a big plethora for the emergency management that aren't responders, that are more the managing side of it.
Who would want this, Flip? Who would want to get on board with this?
So I mean, you could look at things like FEMA or local communities that do response kind of in any responses. So Midwest wise, it could be natural disaster responses. It could be, it could be like, I'll look at companies like an oil company who they may have disaster management people who manage, if things happen, all of those things can be applicable. So like emergency management is across the spectrum of everything. It could be school systems that have a designated person who's, the emergency manager for response for the school. And just coming back to be able to get something like this is something I think that, first of all, it's quick. It's like you're getting you're getting not only the degree, whether it's the bachelor's or the master's, you're doing it in a quarter of the time. less than that. It's very specific to what you for the duties that you're doing, so it doesn't go off on the tangents of all the stuff that you don't really need. And Jay will tell you this, we're about to both start it. You get the NATO certification, which is actually pretty rare in America to have that. So you'll have a one leg up from a global perspective, which I think is awesome. So I'm excited about doing it with Jay for those things and learning. And then the do hard things portion of it and really finding yourself portion is really, I think, for the veteran side, that's not talked about enough at TAPS class. It's really, you need that time, those days to just, who are you and figure that out and or establish who you are. You're going to find clarity with it. Oh, that's a great segue.
Yeah, the Lions Guide role in this, Jay's role that he's leading the way in is, the next mission project. How do you, find your next mission? How do you bring clarity to it? And so on. And that's the part that we play in, veterans. And thanks for clarifying that, Flip. And look, if that sounds of any of that sounds of interest to you, go out to lionsguide.com, go down the bottom, you see a link for next mission project. You can sign up for our next live webinar, or we've got a recorded one out there. Or if you just want to get started to see if you qualify and so on. Like I say, this is if you're a veteran, this is VA accredited, meaning that your GI Bill, your post 9/11 bill, your college funds, all that stuff can be leveraged to get this degree. And you get an awesome 10-day trip included in that package down to New Zealand as part of the next mission project. In addition to all the academic work through the degree programs, and then you actually become part of the ongoing UARD student performance mastery group that we run weekly as well for 3 months, and kind of get keep it going. It's growth. Certainly we're talking about like the career aspect of it, but the growth aspect of it is not a once and done. So not only do you get the 10-day excursion, to really elevate and rise to this new transition and goals that you're after, but we keep the cadence going weekly once you get back from that to really burn that in. Jay, you got anything to add to all that?
A lot of people are confused about what the degree is. A lot of people have questions about it. It's leadership in times of crisis. And it's not just pigeonholed to first responders, like Flip said. And that's ultimately what it is. And in this ever-changing world there's constantly disasters happening, right? As we're recording this, there's something happening, Ohio, right? We've got, we're about to hit tornado season. There's hurricanes geographically, every place you live, there's a chance for natural disaster. There's a war happening in Europe right now, hence the NATO crisis management. So a lot of really cool opportunities for people that want to lead in this dynamic career. So, yeah, if you're interested, reach out. We'll get you squared away.
That's the next mission project going down. Lionsguide.com, hit it, start, get started, check it out and learn more. It's a great opportunity. I like to say, especially for veterans out there looking for their next mission. We also have the Everyday Leader workshop schedule out and available. And that's where we come in and do a 1 or 2 day workshop with your leadership team, and again, we talked earlier about the success of anything is rooted in leadership. And we all know it, and Flip's got some great content out about good, bad, and toxic leadership. So if you've got an organization, and I don't care if you're for-profit, nonprofit, state, local, educational, whatever, you've got leaders that frankly are going to make or break the success of your organization. And leadership's hard, and so, this is where our Everyday Leader workshops and programs come in, is to really help, emphasize, real leadership. I don't want to discredit all the other leadership stuff out there about personality, understanding all that, and you can get that anywhere. And by all means, go get it. But we're talking about leadership, real, raw, every day. And, we're all everyday people who need to rise and meet those demands. So our Everyday Leader workshops are really for organizations who want to, invest in, the leadership development of their teams. So Flip, anything to add on that?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest piece is that with the UARD, right? It's leadership in crisis and leadership through these times of kind of peril and how to do it. And that spectrum is huge. And I think most companies will take when they look at their leadership, they look at it specifically through the lens of what they do. And everyday leadership takes a step back, and it doesn't matter what you do. It's the everyday stuff that really people, right? We're really good at talking about our companies and how they operate, right? From take the fire departments and command and control. That's great. Let's now, when you don't have a fire, how do you lead how do you lead those people when you're not having a fire? It's not a command and control thing. And that's the example, but you can use that example through anything, right? If you're a CTO on the rise, you're very technical, right? You've dealt with numbers and data. Let's talk about the people aspect of it, because that's the everyday stuff. So I think that's the specifics about it. And it really gets into some beliefs. It gets into some applications, and it gets into some abilities that I think every single person needs every day. And, hence the name.
So yeah, if you could use some help in your organization as far as leveling up your leadership team, and give us a call. We're actually only have about 15 slots left for the rest of the year. Actually 14 now, 14 slots left for the rest of the year. So if you're interested in learning more about that and booking one of our session dates, again, just go on Lions Guide or email me, Dale@lionsguide.com, and happy to set up a call and see if it's a good fit for you. And if so, get you on the schedule. I love it, man. This is what do you say? You never won't work a day in your life, doing what you love. I love all this stuff. And I guess the last big announcement is really about the Forge. So those of you who've been a part of the Lions Guide community for some time, this has been something that I've wanted to do, which is get a general community together, because again, it's often we talk about like organizational leaders and business owners, and so far in my personal Lions Guide journey, I've been kind of in that arena, being a business owner myself for many years. I empathize with the demands on you guys, and that's where our mastery groups came from, and organizational leaders as well. But again, we're about everyday people. So whether you're a business owner, or organizational leader or not, you still have a responsibility and, well, frankly, an opportunity to lead. Like I said earlier, even if you're the matriarch or patriarch of your family, that's a key leadership role. Everything still applies. Leading your kids, and so on. So we think, the opportunity to be that high performing leader benefits everyone. And so Jay, on the other side, over in his Do Hard Things journey, and now he's come over to Lions Guide. He's actually brought the Forge over, and now coming together, we're bringing the Forge to Lions Guide to open that up for the everyday folks out there that say, hey, I want to get better. I want to be better. I want to get more from myself. I want to get more from others. And you want some help to do that. The Forge is about a growth mindset lifestyle, and how do you get there? And the Forge is there to give you our weekly calls Tuesday evenings, outside of work, to really work month to month, and work on yourself, right? And that's what the name of the Forge comes from, right? Like to forge, to forge your sword, right? To put in the work, to hammer away and get better. So I'm excited. So look for some more news on that coming up, so you guys can enroll, check that out, apply to be a part of the Forge, see if it's a good fit for you. And that's a low cost item. I know some of our workshops and other mastery stuff is kind of more geared towards like that next level, but this is the first level, for you guys that are looking to grow. So excited to get that out in front of you. But yeah, this is the announcement of that we got the Forge coming over, and it's a lot of fun. I've been on a couple Forge calls, but this week we were on talking to the existing Forge about it. It's awesome. Jay, what do you got to add on that one?
Yeah, I mean, as iron sharpens iron, one person sharpens another, and a lot of people it's the next level of personal growth and development. And only 1 in 10 people actually spend time to really, really work on themselves, and most people are doing it through podcasts and books. Well, if you want exponential growth, join a community where you're talking about a book together as a collective group, or have that space that you can vent and share ideas with like-minded people. Because for a lot of people in their day-to-day life, I've got people I can go drink a beer with and have a great time, but if I were to ask advice, I wouldn't get a lot of good advice from them. And having a tribe of people that I can lean on and get good advice, that are like-minded is really beneficial. And I think it's critical for a leader to have a space like that to share ideas and connect with other like-minded people.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. I mean, it's a big thing, right? Because it's, again, regardless of in what capacity you're a leader, again, not just those business owners or executives, but that mom, or that single dad, or that that community leader, whatever. Like, being the leader can feel like a really lonely place. Trying to get better can feel really alone. There's not a lot of people that are out there working on themselves. It's so easy not to these days, and get comfortable and satisfy yourself with the Netflix and the social media scrolling and the tiki-talkies and all that crap. But when you're surrounded by people that are all rowing in that positive direction, you feel less alone, you feel more encouraged, you feel more likely to move on your own goals and objectives because the people around you are. And here's the side benefit, that people around you, once they see what you're doing, start leveling up too. That comes about often with our clients, whether it's in the Forge or in our mastery groups or whatever. A few weeks in, for me, the magic number is around the 5th, 6th week. Always in the sessions, folks that have been doing it, committed to it, they make mention of someone in their life has been influenced by their growth and change, and they're making changes for the better. And that's the coolest thing ever. And that's when you're changing the world with better leadership. So loving the fact that the Forge is coming alive, and really gonna, especially for the Lions Guy community that's been out there, give you guys something to jump on board with. I know a lot of you guys were jumping into a lot of the open house sessions and things like that. And this is going to be a great opportunity to dig back in and really get on, that growth lifestyle, and get the tools and resources. Again, we're about empowerment. So this isn't a hoorah session and pump fest. We're going through tactical tools, tactical conversations that you can actually use and grow. Not, you want motivation, man, get on YouTube and search, motivational gym video or motivational speeches. You'll get that all day. This isn't that. This is that stuff's inspiring and kind of gets you in the right frame of mind when you need it. So I'm not discounting it at all, but what we're doing is the work, so give you a great platform to forge your own path. So cool. And all that said, so what we want to jump into this week is continue the conversation around Lions Guide. And we talked about the mission again, empowering everyday people like you to be world-class leaders. But we also put in the work and really nailing down what our core values are. And all the core values, real quick, are establishing clarity, having a commitment to growth, providing camaraderie, empowering people, being bold and courageous, and making a positive impact. So starting at the top, we wanted to kind of take this episode today and just dive into establish clarity. Why that landed on the board, what's important about it, so on. Who wants to start? Jay, Flip?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. For me, I think when we got together and we talked about this, I think the reason why it rose to the top was because if you don't have it, the rest, right? Like it's the staple and foundation for the rest of them, right? Like we established, and I think in your life, you find that, I don't care whether you have kids, whether you're a leader, a non-leader at work, it doesn't matter. If things are not clear, things don't function the way that they're supposed to and have been envisioned to function. And whatever that is, right? If it's you and your spouse sat down and said, this is how we want to raise the kids, and all of a sudden things go in and you haven't reset that bar and said, wait, time out, let's get clarity on this, right? Or you're at work and someone says, go and do something, and they didn't give some guidance or some rudder steerage of what you needed to do it. I think for everything, it boiled down. And what it has said to me, and we've all said this, the number one thing that always breaks down is communication. And it's the one thing that all of our clients and our everybody has always said, how do I get better? And we always lead back to it's clarity, right? What are you solving for? What are you trying to fix? Get that single point, get that focus there with your clarity. And then things you'll move forward, and it's maybe not hitting the goal yet, but it's moving forward, and you're always trying to push the needle and push everything towards what your single focus on. So for us, I think, again, the rest of them that you mentioned all founded that we had to be clear about what they were going to be. So establishing clarity rose to the top, and it was probably the easiest one for us to pick, honestly.
Yeah. And you'll hear this in the last episode when you go back and listen to it, or you heard it already if you did. We didn't just sit down and slap this list together. Like we spent a good solid 2+ hours with a whole board of core values, and we really narrowed them down and came to all this. And yeah, you're right. This was one that landed at the top. It was low hanging fruit, but powerful at the same time. Jay?
Yeah, when I think of clarity, I think, we're all on a journey in life, and the journey is incredibly hard. And I know in my life, as I've navigated this journey, I feel like I've climbed some of the wrong mountains, and it takes a lot of effort to climb a mountain. And if you don't have clarity, if you don't know where you're going or what you want or who you are as a person, that's where the greater distance between where you are and you as a person, and that clarity bit, the more misery you have in your life. And it's all about intentionality, like how you show up, what are your success markers, how do you want your relationships to be? And so many people haven't done the work to really be clear, and if you don't do that, then other people's clarity can steer you. And so I think it's the number. If we can get clear on who you are as a person and where you want to go, then all of the other topics we're going to talk about are just going to accelerate that journey. But it doesn't matter if you're not climbing the right mountains, and that's what clarity does. It's your north-seeking arrow on your compass.
Yeah, the way I kind of explain it to people is, if you don't know where you're going, that's exactly where you're going to go. Nowhere. And because you're just going to spin wheels. You're just going to build 1,000 bridges to nowheres, right? Like if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, and this is in everything, right? Like, how do you want 1 year from now? How do you want to look? Whether it's your health and wellness, like what is it? Draw the picture, and that this again, why? And this comes back to where leadership is important in all things and everything we do, because what's the number one thing a leader is responsible for? The freaking vision, right? Like at the end of the day, they're responsible for the vision. And this is, and so the other great way to really nail down the importance of establishing clarity is put yourself, or go back to, because oftentimes, like Flip was saying, this is a root cause in a lot of organizational leadership issues is, go where there's a lack of clarity, right? Go when, you're in an organization, you're not even clear what your job is. You're just showing up, you're going through the motions, and no one's really telling you what you should be doing, or what the bigger picture is, or you're having a personal conflict with someone, and you just like, I don't know what this dude's trying to get done. Like it's just like the fog of war when there's a lack of clarity. It causes so much problem. And the best thing you can do is sit down and start, clearing the way. Start getting clarity. What is your goal? Like, what do you want to see happen? And when you get good at it, you go, and when I get there, having a directionally accurate thing of where you want to go from there, right? Because that's where a lot of people fall off too, I think, as far as growth and accomplishing their goals, is they set a target and they get it, but they never thought about what to do once they got there, right? And then they start to slip. And then when you slip, we all know it's hard to climb back up when you start slipping and falling off track. Laura and I talked about that a bit on the podcast the week before last. So clarity is key. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to have a hard time getting anywheres.
Yeah, and I think too, clarity is also talking about taking the time to get that, and that's not that there's no timetable on how long it takes you to get clear, right? We always talk about like Jay talked about moving, climbing mountains. We talked about keep pushing the needle forward. I think it's important for everybody, again, from an everyday standpoint of how I look at it, is that, there's going to be times where you're going to plateau. There's going to be times where life is going to hit you with things and you're just not like you're just not going to be able to move forward. You're not going to be able to climb a mountain, whether that's physically, whether that's mentally. That is going to happen. Jay even said it. Life is hard, right? We can't stop that from happening in our lives. But the key, I think, to this to clarity, anyways, for me, is really, okay, there still something that's out there? Because the lens is going to get foggy. We just, right, we can use every adage we want and every little, little thing that we say, but the lens is going to get foggy. You're going to get directed in a different way all kinds of times. Having that kind of, okay, though, this is the end goal, and I got to get back on track, clear the way out, and then go there. There's so many ways to do that, because I think one of the things that I think that establishes us as really as a niche and unique for us, and why clarity was there, is the way that we look at it isn't just always, you don't always have to be moving up. Clarity doesn't require you to be moving up all the time. It requires you to know what your focus are, deal with those extra things, and then get back on your clarity, right? Get back to that clearer moment and go, okay, now I'm back. Now I can put that full effort in. I can put that full energy in, right? So I think that's important for people too, is that it's also, and I think Jay pointed it out, it's your compass, right? Like, okay, I got to get back on my heading. All right, we're good to go. I know I'm going to get there. And I think that's the big thing of whether it's, you're a newlyweds and you're like, someday we're going to have kids and this is how we're going to raise them. And then all of a sudden you get there and it happens. And now all three of us can say it. Your compass kind of changes a little. You're like, all right, we gotta do, and so it's with whatever, it just happens. COVID did it to businesses, right? Like, whoa, our needle changed very much. How do we find it? How do we find our north again? So I think that's important.
Well, look, and that's a good one, right? COVID did that to everything, not just business, our lives. Like, my life is completely different because of COVID, inside and out, professionally, personally, whatever, and you've got to, kind of get regrouped on your surroundings and start again to just establish clarity. Great. You're here now. Where do you want to go? And I think you made a good point, right? It doesn't always need to be up, but it's always you always want to be working to make it clear. And that can be what's important to maintain, like what's important to you. Right. So that you don't lose those things. What has made you successful, so far, so you may be, hitting your goals. Right. And you go in, but it's important to be clear on what's gotten you there. I've been, with organizations where, sometimes people just want to do things, and I've kind of had to go, hey, time out, guys. I feel like we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Because making this shift, we're completely throwing out like what got us here, and you got to be real clear on that, or else you're going to do that. You're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and then you're going to have serious problems. And that was the net result of some of the moves in that organization. It's just like, threw the baby out with the bathwater, customers are leaving, employees are leaving, things are a big problem. So, being clear on what success looks like and what's made you successful, so that you can be clear to maintain those things and kind of make sure that it's accounted for. So
clarity also enables you to determine what you don't want, and enables you to set up boundaries so you can say no more often, to not allow things that you don't agree with, or people like, what are you willing to tolerate? What are you willing to accept? What are you willing not to accept? And be very clear about establishing those boundaries in relationships. And I think that's incredibly important as well. And it mitigates distractions. A lot of people, especially we live in an incredibly abundant society, but there's so much distraction, and getting clarity enables you to focus on what's most important and not lose connection with that. So clarity is so incredibly important in so many ways.
Yeah. No, I love that, right? Like, be clear about what you want and be clear about what you don't want.
Yeah.
And be clear about what will happen if you don't start moving. Because when it comes to setting goals, it's good to think about like what you're running towards and what you're running away from, right? Because if you're not running, something's coming, and I always pick on health and wellness because it's the easiest one. Like, if you're fat, out of weight, unhealthy, or whatever your problem is, if you don't start making changes, so tell me the same vision. Tell me a year from now what your life looks like if you don't start moving, right? Yeah. What's chasing you? What's going to eat your tail when you don't move? What's that?
Diabetes, cardiovascular health, all those things are chasing you.
Yeah. Are you clear of the consequences?
Correct. Yeah. Because a vision can be motivating but necessity can be motivating too, right?
Sure.
As far as, getting, and what is motivation, right? What is your motive, right? People get all twisted, like motivational speech, video, whatever. Motivation is about you. What is your motive, right? What's going to move you? And this is another key place where clarity comes in. I love Jay brought this up, right? It's just being clear about what you're running towards and be real clear about what you're running from. And that helps draw some clear, directionally accurate standards and practices, and right on down the line, that gives you more of the power to say no. Those Twinkies ain't getting me where I want to go, but
they taste so good.
They do taste good.
Hey, I want to add one thing, and it's I know this is very passionate for all three of us, because it all touches us in some way. Touches Jay the closest, since he has just retired from the Army, as we said. But from a veteran standpoint, I will tell you, having gone through the transition recently from 2019 until now, I thought I knew what I wanted. I actually thought I prepared for it pretty well, more than most, actually. And I'm going to tell everybody that I didn't know what I didn't know to get clarity about what it was going to be, right? Because your identity is stripped away from you, right? You talk about not wanting to be the guy in the bar flipping a coin and showing your rank and, go buy me a beer, because that's not right. And so I can't tell you how important it was for all three of us when we talked about this, that the veteran part of us came to the surface and went, we want to make sure that not only for ourselves and the customers, whether they're veterans or not, but specifically it affected us about having to go find that more. And that's really anybody who's done something for so long and you were this thing and now all of a sudden you're not. And it's not just about gaining I was this and I was in control of this and now I'm not. It's way more than that. It's about, clarity, about finding your own purpose for things. And so it's a huge deal, Jay. I really want you to talk a little bit about it, because I know it's such a passion. Both Dale and I know it's a passion, but I don't want that to be left out of this conversation, and for people to hear it, that it was such a kind of a seminal thing for us about clarity.
Well, you're talking about the chaos of transition, period.
Sure.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, to your point, the chaos of transition, because I am a veteran. We're all veterans, so we can empathize with that transition. But I think of other people that I've worked with that weren't veterans. Like I think of the mom that was a stay-at-home mom that raised their kids, and 18, they went off to college. It's like, oh, well, now what? Who am I? Right. I lost myself because I was so caught up in being a parent. Yeah. Or that careerist business owner. I mean, Dale, your transition from Corsica, right, into coaching and what you're doing now, you've kind of shared with us some of those, how that went for you. So transition happens to so many different people. And I think there's so many similarities in that, and clarity is that what's going to guide you in life to that next thing. And so, it's transition, especially when it comes from your identity, right? Like who, if you don't know who you are, it's so easy to get caught up in all these other roles, and then you find yourself lost, right?
And you're going to be manipulated too,
Yeah.
If you don't, you said it, and it was great. Being clear about your standards, man, your boundaries. If you don't have clarity there, you're going to get abused, mentally, physically, emotionally, just because you don't have, and another word I wrote down, Flip mentioned, was just control. Like, you talk mindset wise, clarity of what you have control over and what you don't, or, that really starts to help guide. Like, if you don't feel in control, or you're trying to control something that you can't control, there's a lot of anxiety there. And sometimes you just got to sit down and kind of get some clarity on those facts. And because then you can start mapping your way out of that, or like having a new perspective about it. Right. Because that's a big thing. I think a lot of people get all caught up emotionally and, around things that they just can't control, and if they brought some clarity to what they can control, gives them, again, a brighter light, so to speak, of what they can be. Like, we see all this crap, man. It annoys the crap out of me in a way. Like, we're information overload. We got all these dramas around the world, that are just constantly in our face, just wearing us out, like mentally exhausting. I have no control over, certain things in these events that are happening in the world, but we are constantly like pushed, on us, whether it's a train wreck or, some school shooting. Not that I don't have empathy for those things, but we are constantly, pushed these stories that, I kind of always challenge myself with like, yeah, but what can I do here, in my town, in my family, with me? Like, that's the crap. There's challenges here, that need my focus. I don't need to, give mental energy, or emotional energy to these things that aren't in my community. Now I want to learn from them, but I'm not going to get caught up. Right. And I guess what I'm coming to is like, you see all this crap online. Everyone's got an opinion about all this crap going on one side or the other. And it's like, man, you have no control over that, but you got all this energy and hours wasted posting your opinion about it, getting all hyper, man. Like, what's the crap that you do have control over that you can be working on? And that's that. If you're clear on that, what your goals are, you start to get laser focused, and there comes distraction. There's so much distraction out there.
It's more powerful for you to be able to pick and choose then, right? If you're able to be clear and have the ability, and because it's remember, we're saying establish clarity. So the verb there is establish, and that's really like for us, it was, and a lot of our programs are about how do you get to being clear, right? Establishing it for yourself. So to your point, listen, when I want to watch the national news because I want to be informed, I can, but I know it doesn't affect me. If that's not what I need to do. And when it becomes overwhelming, I shut it off and go, that's not right. I don't need that. My filter's good. It's gotten to that level. And I think that's what's the important piece is it's not, and again, we're not here to tell you to take 17 minutes out of your day with all the other, things that it's just about what do you know? What can you filter out? How do you establish it for yourself? Because it works for us. We use a very specific system at Lions Guide that establishes what we're clear for our visions, for our mission, for what we want to do. Right. And that works for us. It works for us 95% of the time to be able to figure it out and go, these are our goals. These are how we want to get there. Right. And I think that's about clarity. That's about establishing it for yourself. And I think that's the verb part of this is just as important as the action of doing it. So I think that's important to figure out too, of saying, look, there's a way to do this correctly. And there's a way that'll be kind of harmful if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that we're clarity is our core value number one, because part of clarity is establishing your values. And I have started a partnership, or I had been in other groups that I didn't share the same values with. We never really talked about the values, but after time working with someone or in the group, like something's not right here. You got to find your own tribe. And I love the fact that we took the time to identify what our values are as a group here with Lions Guide to attract the right people that we want to serve and be around. Your values shape your belief system. Your belief system shapes how you feel in life. That shapes your actions that you take and ultimately affects your results. So, a big one of the critical components, one of the first exercises that I do with the Next Mission Project down in New Zealand is we do a values exercise. What are your values? I was in the Army with 7 Army values, and that's what they do. You go into basic training and like these are the values of our organization. You either toe the line on that or this isn't for you.
Right.
But and that's part of the transition process is like, okay, I've subscribed to these values for the last 27 years, but what are my values? Who am I as a person? That's going to help guide me going forward. And a lot of people haven't done that work on themselves to know what your values are. Like your values were issued to you or dictated by you, or you just knew something wasn't right. That's values, right? You weren't in alignment. What are your individual values? That's part of clarity.
And that's a part of we've not used this word yet today, but congruence is key to your mental well-being, and you could be that person that your family pushed your career onto you, right? Your dad built a company and you're expected to be in that company, but maybe it doesn't fit with your values, or my dad was an accountant, so I'm an accountant, but maybe at some point you got to have the courage to know what what would bring you joy, right? And you know, sometimes a lot of people, you know, I've met on this journey of empowering people in this way, has been like identifying the incongruences that they just jumped into this path that wasn't theirs. You know, it wasn't, the end game wasn't theirs, right? They are just they were set on it, and they never had the courage or maybe even insight or clarity to pick their head up and go, man, I hate this crap. Why am I still doing it? You know, I don't enjoy this. My days are long and annoying, and I'm frustrated because I don't love this work, you know? And it's, that's congruency, you know, when you're not living, you know, with your heart, so to speak, and you're not clear about what that is, like Jay says, with your values, you feel some things, like be it anxiety or discomfort or lack of joy, you know, that's incongruency, you know, at its heart. So,
and when I think too, to add to that, when you establish clarity and you really set it out for yourself, and you can see it on paper and read it like what we ended up doing, what it also does for you is it goes, okay, I'm willing to put up with this right now because I have to, right? Because a lot of people fall into that of like, hey, I have to do something right now because maybe it's money, or maybe it's, you just have to, right? Maybe you committed already to something that you want to follow through, whatever it is. But when you have that clarity, you know, your goal then is to get out of that. How is your goal then going, right? So now you line up everything becomes clear of how you go, how do I get to the point where I can eliminate this part of it, right? And that's a clarity in itself, right? It's a clarity to be able to say, this isn't me, but I can't let it go yet. So now set up the rest of it for yourself to be able to do that. And I think, again, everybody falls into things that they have to do. Everybody climbs sometimes a mountain, Jay, that, like Jay said, that you don't want to climb or whatever. And I think when you're young, you got to figure those things. Sometimes are just you got to figure those things out kind of the hard way. Sometimes those are okay to do. But I think once you get a little bit older and you establish yourself and you've gotten to that point, maybe even found out a sliver about who you are, right? And then you can go, okay, I've got some clarity on some things. And I think it's not far to say you're going to, every single stage of your life is going to need a new lens, right? Every single stage of your life is going to need you to wipe it with a cloth and go, how do I get clarity? What's clear on this? Things changed. I got a new set of glasses. What does that now look like? So I think it's an ever evolving and ever changing thing of your clarity. And just like communication, you always got to keep wiping the lens off. So,
yeah. Having your core values and being in touch with it. Like, I equate it to like doing land navigation, right? You have a map, you have a compass, and we're on our journey. And if you've ever done land navigation with a map and compass, you're not sitting there the whole time and like walking through the woods with it. You're like, you take your azimuth, you take your compass, and you shoot your azimuth to the point of where you want to go. You look at your map, okay? And then you start to move. But during that, you're probably walking around trees. You're probably going to walk around the pond. But you got to stop every now and then, pull your map and compass out. Am I on track, or am I wandering way off path? And the more in alignment you are, your clarity and your values and your purpose statement and all of these things, when life happens to you, it's pulling out your map and compass. Like, am I still on track? Because obviously things are going to happen. You're going to have to go around that tree. You're going to have to go around that obstacle, around that pond, because it's never a straight shot unless you're in the desert. But I've never really done land nav in the desert. It's a series of obstacles, and you got to get back on track and course correct. And this enables you to course correct more often, so you're on target and achieving your objectives more often.
Yep, definitely. Well, hey, good chat on all this. In fact, the Forge members, we've got some lessons on clarity out there, pre-recorded, and other worksheets and things you can do to establish clarity in your life. And certainly every session is designed to help you establish clarity in whatever lens you're looking through. Whether you're solving for, your career, you're solving for, your leadership role, whether you're solving for being a better parent or being more healthy or whatever, the work we do helps you establish clarity towards your goal. So get out there, check it out. Like I say, if you're interested in any of that, go on the website, apply, and we'll make sure it's a good fit for you. That's it for today, everyone. Thanks for hopping on, gents. Thank you for being here, and always your sage advice and wisdom. And And yeah, so we're going to get on to the next thing with our day, get our team meeting going here, get fired up, establish our own clarity. We eat our own dog food, people. We eat it. We spend a lot of time each week establishing clarity. And so that's it. Next week, we'll be jumping into our next core value, which is a commitment to growth and what that means. So appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for hanging out, and hope it serves you. And we'll talk again real soon. Thank you, guys.